Hello and welcome to my Southern Exposure. Today is Sunday, August 9th, 2020. Today is also our 12th episode of my Southern Exposure. I want to first thank all 50,000 plus views of our show. Thank you so much. We're very grateful to everyone who's been involved with the show so far, and we look forward to doing many more shows moving forward. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about and a lot of things to cover. Rajee's doing her little dance in the background. You'll see her shortly. Mick is out in California doing his thing, and we got a lot of other people that are going to be hopping on the call. So I want to thank everybody for being here today, I should say this evening. And I just want to share a personal story. So the personal story for me is just trying to figure out what to do at this point. Try to stay focused and happy and upbeat, looking towards things moving forward in a positive direction. It's kind of hard to do that right now. So what I try to do every day is build in some structure into my life. So every morning I wake up, have my coffee, take a bike ride, feed the dogs, do some work, take a break, and whatnot. So I would suggest that that would be a good idea for everybody out there to try to do, considering that this looks like it's going to be the long haul for all of us to try to focus and rethink about the way that we look at everything that we've ever done before in our entire lives. So we're going to be talking about some of those topics later. But Rajee, how is it in beautiful Hollywood, Florida?
Hollywood, Florida. Hollywood, Florida. Hi, everyone. Welcome back for another week of Southern Exposure. Sometimes when I say that, I'm like, what are we exposing? The southern part, no. But yeah, it's pretty good. Today was like a little overcast here. I don't know about you, Joseph, because you're not that far away from me. But yeah, overall, Hollywood is fine. You know, what you just said kind of resonated with me because I think what 2020 has done for a lot of us is let people know. I mean, and really, I mean, you know, it's common sense, really, but I think we as human beings get so wrapped up in our everyday lives, and like, you know, it's kind of like, it kind of becomes like a hamster in a hamster wheel going round and round and round. And what 2020, I feel, has done for a lot of people is really made us stop. You know, made us stop and take a look around at the world. And it also, for me, has let me know and affirm for me that nothing really stays the same and nothing is set in stone, per se, in this journey. I have my moments where I start to feel like a little depressed. And I'm like, you know, I do things to try to not sink down into that depression. So one of the things that I do usually every Sunday is the spiritual center that I've been going to for years. It's called the Center for Spiritual Living, located in Fort Lauderdale. And I love this center because it's more of like a spiritual point of view on life and not so much religious. And they're, you know, talking about universal law and law of attraction, and principles or laws that work in the universe, like regardless of what religion you are. So I love the one because they have an online service every Sunday. People are starting to go back to the church, but a lot of people haven't gone back yet. So I haven't gone physically, but I've been logging on. So my minister today gave a really good message, and I'm going to share more of that as the show goes along. I think it's something that all of us can use. So on that note, Mickey, what's going on with you?
Thanks for that, Rajee. You know, it's hard to give an update week to week because everything really does stay the same as we continue on just with everything being shut down and being at home and not really having all that much to do. But I did sort of want to piggyback off of what Rajee had brought up, where this whole crisis has really forced us to examine our day-to-day lives and force us to, you know, realize that there are some, to quote Al Gore, some inconvenient truths about the way that we live, ways that we live, I should say, and how that has kind of contributed to the crisis that we have here with coronavirus. Because even leading up to coronavirus, there was already fears of a recession coming along. This country was already pretty divided when it comes to politics. And the Black Lives Matter movement, which is probably the other big social topic that is going on right now, that has been going on for about a decade now, that whole movement. And with the pandemic, that has really forced us to really confront a lot of these things. And I think one thing that has become very apparent to me in this country is that we have a very individualistic mindset and not so much a collective one. I mean, how many people, especially people watching right now, how many of you can say that you really know your neighbors? Like, you can go next door to them, you have their phone number, you've shared things with them, you know their names even. I know plenty of people who live in buildings who say that they don't know who their neighbors are and they've never met their neighbors, they don't know anything about them. And I think that that's a huge problem, and that's something that we've never really talked about, because God forbid, literally everything comes crashing down. Who are you going to turn to? You would think the most immediate people that you would turn to would be the people around you. And if you don't know your neighbors, you're not going to be able to do that. And so that has motivated me personally to be more involved with organizations. Specifically, I've joined the LA Tenants Union, as well as this prison abolitionist group out here in California known as Power Blossoms. They're both great organizations. If you email me at Mick at My Southern Exposure, I can definitely forward you more information along about all that stuff. But this also brings into the topic at hand, sort of this idea, again, of individualistic versus collective culture and action. And just the fact of the matter is that in the United States, there is this whole idea that you're an individual, your life is yours to live, and you can do whatever you want. You can go out and not wear a mask if you don't want to. You can go out and not adhere to quarantine if you don't want to. And that's made, honestly, a lot of people, quite frankly, like rude and terrible people. And it's the reason why we as a developed country are doing so poorly when it comes to combating this disease and combating this virus. And really what it's going to take is people acknowledging that there are going to be some sacrifices that you're going to need to make, and you're going to need to be okay with those sacrifices happening, because it is for the greater good. And the greater good is more important than you being uncomfortable about the fact that you have to wear a mask. That's just the way I have to put it. But I'm going to throw it over to Joseph because he needs to get the show started. Joseph.
Moment until I unmute myself. Thank you so much for that, Mick, and thank you so much for that, Rajee, as well. I am doing the usual duty. Last week we had a wonderful technical producer, Marty Allen from Big Daddy Productions, who took care of all this stuff. So I'm going to try to do what I can today, but I don't know if I can do it properly. So everyone at home, please give me a little bit of leeway. I'm not perfect. I don't have all the things that I need right now. So that's today. But thank you so much for saying what you just said. And actually you bring up a really good point, because there's a lot of people out there, I think, that do not know their neighbors. When you live in an apartment building, it's really easy not to know your neighbor. When you live in a house or a regular apartment building like myself and Rajee, if you're around people where you drive and you pull in, it's smaller, then there's a lot of different things that go along with that. I mean, I have a house, Rajee's got her apartment, and it's a different set of circumstances from you, Mick. So you have probably a building with lots of neighbors. For myself, I have neighbors and I know everyone on our entire block personally. I have their phone numbers, we have keys, we know them, we talk to them, we give each other whatever is necessary, fruit, vegetables, we share tools and all of that. Rajee knows how we are with our neighbors, except for one of them, which I don't want or need to discuss. That's kind of a pain in my tuchus. But it is what it is. You can't be friends with everybody on your block, but if you can talk to your neighbors, get their phone number, I think that's obviously a very good thing. It's not only important for now. If you do that on a regular basis, if things are going good, you're good. If things go bad, then you're good. So it's important to be able to be aware of the people who live around you and communicate with them all the time, not just when things go bad. Communicate with them if things are good. Check in with them for birthdays, anniversaries, check in with their dogs, like try to find out what their dog names are, give them some toys or all of those kind of things. Those are all good things to be able to do on a regular basis with your neighbors. Instead of just being so separated, at the end of the day, it turns out that your neighbors can be your best ally going through something as crazy as this. But I'm going to talk really quickly about what I'm going to talk about later for my little segment. It's just COVID. It's not just COVID. There's a lot of things going on right now that are very distressing. The numbers are through the roof. And unfortunately, our current administration does not know how to wrap their head around it because they apparently don't have any brain matter. I don't know any other way to say it that way. So to make it sound pretty, it's not pretty. Unfortunately, there is no actual lead to figuring out what to do. So we are stuck with trying to figure out what to do. And I suggest that each one of us tries to do that. But that's my little perspective with my little story. So Rajee, what do you have to say about what your topic is going to be about later?
Well, first of all, I want to comment about the neighbor thing. I've always been a pretty much friendly type of person. But no matter where I am, I try to connect with people, even if it's just a gesture of a hello or a good morning or you smile. I notice a lot of people don't do that, and I think it depends on where you live and the culture, because I said hello in the morning to some people and they just look like, what? Like, from another planet or something. Maybe it's the trans thing, but I have a few neighbors that I do have their phone numbers and I'm connected with. Not a lot in my neighborhood, but a few, three that I am. And then, of course, in my building, I know everyone. It's only a 4-unit apartment, second apartment. So, of course, the units are right next to each other, so I know everyone in my building. So I wanted to talk about what my minister said this morning, and I'm going to get into that during my segment. I think it's an important message and lesson to anybody and can apply to anyone's life. So I'm going to cover that. I'm also going to touch a little bit on the Trinidadian presidential elections that are going on tomorrow. I should say presidential election that is going on tomorrow. I'm just going to do a quick thing on that. And so we got a lot to talk about today. We sure do. Mickey?
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for saying what you just said. And actually, the reason why what the show
Ooh.
topics are. So are you still there? Can you not see me or no? Can you hear me, see me, Mick? Yes, no?
You kind of paused for a little bit, so we didn't quite catch everything that you said after you spoke after Rajee.
Okay, that's fine. So, but I think now it's working properly. So sometimes, Mick, and sometimes Rajee, things don't look like it works good on your end, but it actually does work on Zoom's end. So sometimes there's a little bit of a lag with, and especially with you living out west, there's a little bit of like a 3 to 5 second lag for you, Mick, and for myself and Rajee. Unfortunately, we live in an area where there's a lot of natural disturbances in the atmosphere. So, but to get back onto the actual topic, my first suggestion or the topic would be talking about voting just in general, and also talking about the census. Number one, I have my own perspective about voting. And number two, I have a really good story to share about the census that is almost going to be a lawsuit at this point after being harassed after I already did the census more than a month ago. And being text messaged and called and text messaged and called and emailed from several different people. So it's one of those things where I think that there's a lot of people who are doing what is necessary and then it's not being done properly. So I'm concerned about in Broward County, Rajee knows this, just like I do, that they're talking about putting up these little mailbox slots, like almost like I should say, not a telephone booth, but it's like a little box where you just drop off a newspaper, and they want people to put in their mail box. I should say, they want people to drop off their voting in Broward County. That's one of the things that they're going to be doing. So if they're going to be doing that here in Broward County, I would presume that they're going to be doing it in other counties as well. My suggestion is, instead of people dropping off their ballot into this receptacle that looks like a trash can newsstand, can they not just drop them off in the mail if they don't feel that the mail is going to be taken care of properly? Why can they not just drop them off at the bank? There's already drop-off boxes in every bank all across the United States. I think that it would be something that's already understood and known to be secure. Instead of creating something new, I think it would be good for people to be able to drop off your ballot, drop it off at your local bank, and then those could possibly be forwarded to the actual recording of the election. That's the first thing. So I don't know what you think about that, Mick, but I would like to toss to you first and see what you think about the current voting situation right now because of COVID and everything else. But I think if they can have someone win millions of dollars on American Idol just from a telephone call, we should be able to track someone with their vote for the United States of America. And the other thing is, we could possibly do voting through a Zoom phone call or something else. Someone can hold their driver's license and say, this is me, you're you, and then register to vote and do it instead, just to be safe. What do you think, Mick?
Well, I personally think, I don't like, this is just a very hard thing to kind of quantify because, you know, I'm just a single citizen. I'm just a single person. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into this. For one thing, I definitely think that voting by mail shouldn't be as complicated as the president is making it out to be. Voting fraud by mail is not common at all. It's actually a very rare thing. And quite frankly, if the IRS can track down my unpaid bills, or like the random healthcare form that I didn't send in with my taxes, if the IRS is that diligent with my money, there can be a government agency that is that diligent with voting results. And that's really not hard to do. The government clearly does not care that they are in debt. They could literally print another $1 trillion, and if they wanted to, create a whole new department that would literally be dedicated to tallying people's votes. And it would be fine because, as I said, if there are agencies out there that can track us down because of unpaid bills, or, I mean, really unpaid bills is really the only thing that the government really does care about tracking you down for because it involves money. It's like they can definitely do that for voting. The problem is that the government does not want you to vote. That's why gerrymandering is a thing. That is why they're talking about defunding the post office. That is why in places like certain parts of Georgia, you hear that people wait in line for 6 hours to use a polling booth. Like, that is active voter suppression, and the government does not want you to vote. That's literally just the straight up fact of the matter, because quite frankly, what the people want does not match what the people in power and the rich elites want. The people in power want regular citizens like ourselves to be uninformed, to not have a say in government, and to go about our lives as if all of this is normal. So I definitely think that voting by mail, it should not be made as difficult as it is. I also think that things like gerrymandering and other terrible forms of voter suppression like that should be dealt with and should also be talked about more in the media. Thirdly, though, I also just, at this point in the game, we can't rely on voting anymore. You cannot rely on voting anymore because, quite frankly, why does it matter? Like, the fact of the matter is that when it comes to the popular vote, certain presidents have won a greater popular vote than they have electoral votes, and yet the lesser popular president is in power. And that's just something that is wrong. Like, that is wrong. And we accept that as a normal thing because we're told that the Electoral College knows best and that the elites know best. So the other fact of the matter is that we just can't rely on voting anymore. You have to be active in organizations in your neighborhoods. You have to be active in your local government, whether it's calling your representatives or filing petitions, I guess, stuff like that. But really what needs to happen is there needs to just be mass radical action from people. People need to go on strike. People need to stop paying their bills. Students need to just default on their loans in solidarity. Like, these are things that people can do. But it kind of comes back to that famous quote by Malcolm X. The enemy does not outnumber us, they outorganize us. And it's become high time for people to stop thinking that just because we can vote, that's going to change everything. Joe Biden is not going to save us. Joe Biden is senile. Joe Biden is out there telling people, is out here saying to Black American voters, if you don't vote for me, you can't call yourself Black. That man is not going to save us. He's an idiot. And yeah, we just can't rely on voting. And I know that was a really long tangent and that kind of answered your question, but I think the problem is that voting, there's more to this whole thing than just voting, and voting is not going to save us. Rajee, did you have something to say?
First of all, I want to just interject quickly, Rajee, if you bear with me for just a moment. I agree with you completely. Joe Biden is not the answer to the problem. He's not going to fix our current problem. However, he is the lesser of the two evils in my eyes and what I understand things. The current administration is not something that should have ever existed in the first place. So I would rather go from horrible to bad and then go from bad to better. I mean, I know it sounds bad saying it that way, but it's like you got to take the lesser of the two evils. It's from my perspective, every person who I've ever seen as a politician thus far in my entire life has all been evil. Every single one of them. And they're all money motivated. I mean, you're young. But you're young, but like, I'm talking about voting since 1992, before you were even born.
Exactly. But that brings me to my next point. Why do we put up with that? Why are we okay with just being like, oh, let's just vote for the lesser of two evils? And like, I should say, as my own personal disclaimer, I don't think that voting is, for one thing, I don't think voting is going to change everything. And I personally don't fault anyone for saying that they don't want to vote. Because quite frankly, there are people out there who, whoever they vote for, it's not going to change for them because they're disenfranchised, they're a minority, they're poor, they're a trans person. It doesn't matter who's in office because the systems that are currently in place do not serve them. And whoever is in office is not going to change that. Me personally, because I can vote, because I'm able to do so, and because like I should be able to do it by mail and I should be able to do it safely, and it's not going to take too much of my time or too much of my day, I know that I can vote, and that I will begrudgingly, but I will vote for Biden, because this also plays into something that Angela Davis said, where she said, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. Like, obviously, he's not the be-all, end-all, but you can see it as a form of harm reduction in the sense that, like, yes, he is probably going to be easier to work with than someone like Donald Trump. I think the problem is, with everyone talking about these sort of things, is that people have this mentality like, oh, if we vote for Joe Biden, we're going to be able to go back to brunch and all of this stuff is going to be fixed. And the thing is that voting him into office may help some things, but it is not going to solve all of our problems. And relying on voting as being the way that all of this is going to get solved is naive. Because as you said, you know that politicians are money hungry and that they're dishonest and that they really only care about one thing, and that's getting paid. So it's time, and I think that most people would agree with me saying that. Even most politicians would agree with that. So I think that at this point, we as citizens need to come up with a different idea than just voting. Voting can bring about some change, but there needs to be more on the table right now. That I don't think is even like an opinion per se. I think that is a fact.
I agree with you, and I have a suggestion to fix that problem. And everyone's going to think that I'm pretty much batshit crazy when I say it out loud, so I really don't care. But Rajee, what do you have to say about what you've heard so far?
Well, I mean, it's so funny because it's not funny literally, but funny as an expression that a lot of people say, oh, Biden, you know, he's senile or he has dementia. And, you know, he doesn't know where he's at, and he looks like he's on his last. And honestly, I don't know about senile. I mean, maybe his memory is kind of fading a little. And he does look a bit tattered. I mean, this is a man that's been in politics for like, 30, 40 years. And, you know, he's in his late 70s. So, you know, that's another thing. I actually thought we should cap the presidency off at 65. No one older than 65 should be able to run for president. Because, you know, it's the retirement age anyway. And so yeah, but I say all that to say I'm going to vote for him because I'm certainly not voting for Trump. And he's the only other option. So I'm going to vote for Biden because I do think his intentions are a little more, I hate to use pure, because I don't know if that's really the case, but I think that I connect with Biden a little more. And I think that he, as opposed to Trump, would be a little more concerned about the trans community, you know? And so And so, yeah, I'm voting for Biden. But you know what's funny? You know how he said, and I think I said this last show or the show before, you know how he said that he's going to pick a woman of color to be his running mate? And you know how America seems to have such the hardest time voting a woman president in? I mean, like, we're supposed to be the land of the free and home of the brave, and so progressive. Well, we're really not in many ways. And the misogyny is real. And so, would this happen? God bless Biden. I'm not wishing him dead. But what if he won the presidency? Okay? And he goes to the inauguration, he becomes president, and into his presidency, he dies. Guess what? We're going to end up with the first black woman president. Because no one will be able to do anything about it because the Constitution says if the president dies, the vice president becomes president. So wouldn't that be like a really, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. And like I said, I'm not wishing him dead or anything, but I'm just saying, like, wouldn't that be something if that happened? Not only would we have a woman, but she'd be a black woman president. Oh my God, of America. So in regards to the election, I am totally weary of the election system. Being all that stuff with Russia last election, I don't even know if we can trust the election system. And it's so funny how like all that stuff with Russia when Trump won, oh no, the election is legit and it's fine. Now he's so concerned about the election process and things being up and up. Meanwhile, last election, supposedly the Russians hacked in and they had something to do with it. So I'm really concerned about this election, whether the Russians and the Chinese are going to try to hack in to our system and, screw things up.
Joseph, are you still there? I think he may be. Oh, well, I'm glad you're still here. Yeah, I think he might be frozen. But I agree with you, Rajee, that just in the sense that, like, oh, are you still?
I'm still.
Are you back? Okay, for sure. You were paused.
Still here. I mean, Rajee froze up on my end, but the part that I want people to understand is, I don't know if everyone could hear everything you say, Rajee, because sometimes your audio cuts in and out, and we have to still figure that part out. And sometimes mine does, and sometimes Mick's does also as well. So don't take it like a bad thing. It's just part of our technology issues that we have, no matter where you are in the world right now. And believe it or not, it happens on ABC News, NBC, and CBS as well. I mean, people would and freeze for 10 seconds. So it doesn't matter how much money you got in the world, you can still freeze up and look like Max Headroom. You don't know, but Rajee and I do. But the thing is that it's important for people to understand that voting is important, but by the same token, it's hard to know if your vote even counts, I think. And part of that problem is that none of us, especially me and you, both of you, Rajee and Mick, no one has ever been put into the environment that has ever represented us completely and fully in our entire lives. And hopefully someone will eventually be able to do that. The closest thing that we got to it was, I forget his name, Buttigieg. I can't remember his first name because I got mad because he dropped out of it. And I was all on board with him. And to be honest with you, I don't know, it's not a good thing, but because he was gay, I wanted to be able to support him. And then come to find out he dropped out, and whatever, it is what it is. The fact of the matter is that between Joe Biden and also the current orange monster. I don't want to say his name. So, but between those two individuals, the better of those two. And I agree with you, Mick, completely. We shouldn't be able to just settle on the two options. That's not the way that it's supposed to be. I have a completely different perspective on the electoral process. I don't think that we should even have names for the people who are running for office. They should be assigned a number. It's something completely that no one has ever thought of before. Give the person a number. We're a number. The people who are voting are a number. They should be a number. We don't need to know if they're a male or a female, if they're black or white, if they're Democratic or Republican. It doesn't make a difference what they are. And they just talk about what they're supposed to be doing. Or actually, to be honest with you, they should just type a contract. This is a contract between me and you, the United States people, the people who live here. This is my agreement to you as client number 00001. And I'm running for the presidency. And I want to represent you. And this is what I promise you. And then they have to list 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 different promises that they're supposed to complete during that office. It doesn't make a difference if they're black or they're white, what their name is, what they look like. We don't need to know who they are because they don't care who we are. They don't care who Mick is. All you are is just a number. When you go in there and you swipe and you vote, just like you, Rajee, you go and you swipe and vote. They don't care who you are. They don't care if you're gay, if you're straight, if you're bi, if you're trans, if you're alien, or if you're agnostic. They don't care who you are. So why do I need to care about who you are if you're going to be helping me? That's my point. It's a completely different way of looking at the electoral process. It should not be about their name, where they came from, what their color is, what their affiliations are. They should be a number, just like we have been a number. If we do this suggestion, which might seem completely obscure and incomprehensible for most people on the face of the planet, no one's ever talked about this before, and everyone's looking at me like I'm batshit crazy, but I really don't fucking care. So, I mean, I really don't care. But the fact of the matter is that I think if we separate the personal part of the electoral process and we make it about promises, if you promise that you're going to do something, you do it. You got a check mark. If you don't do it, you got to strike. One of your 10 promises are done. And then you have 50 or 60 or 100, whatever those things are. If we separate those, it doesn't matter if you're black or white, your preferences. It doesn't matter what you look like. No one needs to ever hear your voice. It's a contract because the United States of America is a corporation. It's a company. The United States of America, Inc. It's a company. Mick.
Oh, well,
Over to you, Mick.
For one thing, what I was going to say is I definitely agree with the last thing that you said, that the United States of America is a corporation. It is a country where the rich run everything, and they run everything through the politicians that we have in place. And I don't know that I necessarily quite agree with the exact nature of like, we don't know who the candidate is at all, because I think that opens up some weird, obscure cans of worms when it comes to, I do personally want to at least have an idea of who I'm voting for, but I do think that you have a good point though, that that politics in this country have become so intertwined with this cult of celebrity and the idea that, oh, I'm going to vote for this person just because they're a Kennedy, or just because they're a Clinton, or if you are so inclined, I'm going to vote for a Trump. Like, people have it in their minds, oh, I'm going to vote for this person because they are part of a political dynasty, or because they are renowned throughout the Democratic Party, or they once had this amazing I don't know, like in like diss on Twitter to someone who I don't like. That's how a lot of people do vote. And so I do think that you do bring up a good point that we do need to separate this idea, not even the idea, but the way of thinking, which I guess, okay, yeah, is an idea, but this method of voting that we vote just because of how we perceive this person to be as a celebrity. Because a lot of people will just vote for someone like Donald Trump because they think, oh, like he's someone that I know and he's recognizable and he entertains me. I'm going to vote for him. And that, I think, does play very strongly into the way that politics are done in this country, because everything just is such a circus when it comes to that sort of thing. And the media does not do a good job of de-escalating that stuff either. They will run with that stuff. I mean, remember when at the beginning of the Republican race back in 2015, when there was a whole clown car of people running for that position, the way that they were covering idiots like, God, like Ted Cruz or Jeb Bush or Carly Fiorina, all of these people who are not qualified to like trim my nails. Like they're not qualified to do, which also I also want to take that back, because I don't want to say that nail technicians or that people who work in cosmetics don't have a skill. Like I want to take that back, but
you got to give disclosure.
Yeah, I want to give a disclosure because honestly, I also respect nail technicians more than I respect really any politician. And I also don't want to compare the everyman's job to what politicians do, because quite frankly, people in service jobs, people who work at nail salons, people who work in restaurants, people who run metro systems, people who drive buses, janitors and janitorial staff, they do work harder than our elected officials, because our elected officials go into air-conditioned office where they just have to talk back and forth to people. They get to go on TV. They make hundreds of thousands of dollars just because of how they vote on something. They don't do shit. They don't. And they're the ones who are calling the shots on everything. And quite frankly, like I know for a fact that there are millions of service workers out there who would do a better job of running this country and who would do a better job of giving the people what they want than the people that we currently have in place. So I know that was another long-winded tangent, but I don't want to seem like I'm dragging anyone for their profession, because literally all professions are better than being a politician. They are. I'm just going to put it out there. I
am. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to throw it to you, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, no, what I was going to say is I get Joseph's point. I think it comes down to content of character versus image. Someone's image, the way they look, their race, where they came from, as opposed to their content of character, like the things that they want to do. However, I still would want to know, like, I'm kind of like you, Mickey. I want to see the person and kind of know some background on them, just based on the number, as opposed to just having a number. Because for that matter, anyone can say, oh, I'm for this and for that and for the other, and I'm going to do this, that, and the other, and it all be bullshit, you know. So it's kind of hard to. It's almost like between a rock and a hard spot, because you don't want to have it where you're totally into like the person's image, but like for me, I want to know a little bit of it, but then also I want to know more importantly, their content character and the things that they truly intend to do for this country.
I agree with you completely, sweetheart. What I wanted to bring up is the fact of how to figure out what to do next with the voting as well. I don't know what either of you think about that, but then also the census is part of what our current problem is as well. I have a personal story. I have voicemails, I have text messages. I have an email confirmation that I confirmed my census that I did before. I talked with Rajee about it before. Mick, I hadn't had a chance to talk with you about it just because we have a little bit of a delay between out west and me and you. So I kind of communicate directly with Rajee and also the executive producer, Laura Farrell, instead. And then vis-a-vis, it gets passed along a little bit later. But the fact is that I got my little form in the mail. I don't have it right here. I plan to have it to show you, but I got my census thing that came to the address, and it was addressed to the old person who used to live here. Not old person, but the person who formerly lived here. They happen to be old, but that's beside the point. And I called in, and it had a registration number, and I updated my information, and it is required by law to go ahead and do the census. And Rajee and I had talked about this before, and my partner is not very keen on the idea of doing it in the first place, but I did do it for myself and him and his mother. And the fact of the matter is that even though I did it, I continued to get text messages, emails, and phone calls, not just once or twice, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times. So my escalation of frustration went from nothing because I already did it to being like pissed off, so to speak. And then I got really pissed off. And then I got belligerent. I started cussing and swearing. And then I started sending text messages and emails that were basically escalations upon those things. My question for you, Mick, and also Rajee, is if you have already done your census, do you think that that actual information that you gave is being tracked properly? Or do you think that it's just thrown down the tubes? Because apparently, even though I did it and I have a tracking number for everything that I did, no one apparently got my information. So if it happened to me, I presume it probably happened to you, Mick, or it probably happened to you, Rajee. What do you think about doing the census online, which is a very simple thing, I would think? They already know your name. They already know your address. They already know what your age is. They already have your driver's license. They already have your payment information. They already know what you pay for your electric, your water, and everything else. And basically, the end of the story is they already are asking you questions that are already public knowledge. What do you have to say about it, Rajee or Mick?
Well, I think you can do it online. At least from where I am, we're able to do it online.
I did it online, Mick. I already did it online. Yeah, I already did it. Like
okay, and they still didn't get it. Oh, I thought you were saying because when you were saying why can't we do it online?
Yeah, I did it online.
Oh,
the point of my the conversation is that I did it online. I got my confirmation that it was done, and then I've been harassed ever since I did it. It took a month later, and then I started getting harassed on a daily basis.
I mean, that again just plays into what I feel like I've been saying a lot. It's that the government is quite frankly not good at its job. And one of the reasons that they're not good at their job is because they don't care. And the reason that they don't care is because it is much, much, much easier for them to get away with taking advantage of us and disenfranchising us by just not doing their jobs. If the census information is not accurate and is not done properly, excuse me, then that is a lot easier for politicians to take advantage of that data and say, certain things about a certain neighborhood, like, oh, like we need to redistrict here because of such and such number of people living here or there. And again, this is maybe showing my lack of knowledge when it comes to a lot of census information. But yeah, I think that there's a very obvious reason as to why they're inept at this job. And it's because, again, the government wants this sort of thing to happen because they want you to think that this stuff doesn't matter. Because the thing is that if this was a very hard, fast thing, like you have to do the census or else you're going to get fined $100,000 and we will fine you and track you down for it, then people would do it. But the thing is that the census is treated like something, oh, like, please do your census. Could you please do your census? They're literally pleading with people to do their census. When it's like, they don't do that with taxes. They don't do that with taxes at all. But they have to plead with you to do the census. That should be your red flag. The fact that they're asking you to do it instead of being like, this is your civic duty. You have to do it. So
I have to stop you just for a moment, Mick, because the fact is that the document that I got said that it was required by law to do the census and that you were under penalty of perjury if you did not do it. So, I mean, all joking aside, I agree with what you're saying, but this census, God, I did it. And Rajee and I have talked about this before, and Mick, you know that I'm not a big person about doing anything that anyone tells me to do in my life besides, God and my uncle. That's the only people that I want to listen to be honest with you. So it's not necessarily a good thing, but that's about it. And the idea that I got the document that said, if I don't do or comply with this documentation to do my census, that I would be possibly harmed. And that's the reason why I did it. So I agree with what you're saying, but by the same token, this census was completely different. Because the census is so different, and now they're pushing out advertising that says they're going to be coming to people's doors. During a pandemic, people are going to be going to people's doors to say, what's your name? What's your age? Who lives in your house? When they already know the answers to all those questions, are you kidding me? Seriously, that's the most obscure thing to ever be done besides being an oxymoron. Rajee, what do you have to say? I'm curious to hear about what you have to say, and talk quietly because a lot of people can't hear you sometimes because you get really excited, and I want everyone to hear what you're saying.
Okay. So basically, what I think is, with the census, it's one of those things where they say we have to do it, but I don't think it's one of those things that they enforce in the sense of like other things that they mandate that the public do. So it's one of the, like kind of like a jaywalking law. The law is on the books, but do they really enforce it? I mean, because literally, can they really go to people's house and like make them do it? Now, based on what I learned about the census, I think that it's important for people to do because supposedly the census determines where the government sends the money and how much money they send, depending on the population of a certain area. So, even though there's not a category for LGBT, if you're an LGBTQ person living in a particular area, you want to be counted because a lot of these monies, these government funding that comes down the pipe are for social services that could affect you. So in that regard, I think that it's important to do it. Now, whether it's a foolproof system, who the fuck knows what the government really is doing, to be honest with you all. I mean, really, I guess we have to have faith and hope that the system works and that this census is for the good of the American people. But yeah, so that's my take on it. I did it. I filled it out. It didn't take long. It's real easy. Not a big deal. Only 5 minutes. I mean, people too are lazy. Like something that's so simple and quick. A lot of times people won't even just like take the time to do it. I mean, besides the fact that some people have reservations about doing it, but I'm just saying, like, something that's so simple, it doesn't take long at all. And my thing was, why not do it? Because if it's going to affect, like, some particular social service that I might get down the road because I live in Hollywood, then why not, So that's my take on it. I don't know. My audio might have gone.
It's all good. No, I mean, I wasn't saying that people shouldn't fill out the census. I think that that's ridiculous. You should fill out the census because, as Rajee pointed out, that's how the government determines where tax money is going to go for things like infrastructure, for public housing, transportation, all sorts of stuff like that. So I do think that the census, filling it out, is definitely important, and it's definitely something that everyone should do. Everyone should fill it out. Well, my thing is that I'm saying is that the government has to plead with you to fill out the census. Like, that's why you're seeing advertisements for it. And it's not so much that I think that, like, because the government is pleading with you to do it, that you shouldn't do it. It's just that everyone knows that you have to do your taxes, or else you could possibly go to jail. Everyone knows that. That's why it's ingrained in everyone's head to do it. And that's why it's every single year it's like, I gotta do my taxes, because the IRS is just omniscient. I mean, they're omniscient because they're tracking money, and that's what makes this country work. But yeah, like, there just isn't as much of I just don't think that there's that much importance, at least publicly or made by the government, that they don't ascribe a ton of importance to the census, at least in my opinion, in the sense that, like, they don't stress to people how important it is. They don't stress to people that this is a way for your community to benefit, that sending this information to the government is helpful for your community. That sort of stuff is not stressed. And that's why you have people wondering whether or not that they should fill out the census, or thinking, I'm not going to fill it out. It's like, no, you should fill out the census. That's important. So yeah, I mean, also I think that we're kind of all on the same page here. We all agree that the census should be filled out and that you should take the time to do it, and you still have the time to do it. And if you don't do it, you're doing yourself and your community a disservice. I think we're all on the same page there. I think that the problem is that people don't understand how important it is. And that is the fault of the government, because, again, that's not something that you also don't learn about taxes in school, but the moment that you start collecting a paycheck, that you've got to file a W-2, because they send it to you and they are on your ass if you don't do it. So maybe that is what they need to do with the census. I mean, maybe they shouldn't be sending people door to door during a pandemic, but maybe that is something that the government needs to do. It's like, maybe you should be on people's asses about the census, because people are maybe just otherwise going to ignore it.
I saw something today where they said it was canceled. The door-to-door survey was they decided not to do it. I don't know if it's true or not, but I did see that.
I mean, okay, so first of all, Mick, I agree with you completely. And also Rajee, I agree with you as well. The part that I have the problem with is that for us down here, Rajee, we're in a different demographic than Mick is, clearly. Because when we talk about things, he has a different perspective than we do, completely different perspective than we do, because you're out west, Mick, and things are more in order for you. It's like they test stuff by the East Coast, and then eventually they figure out what works and what doesn't work, and then when it finally gets to you, it does work. I mean, seriously, all joking aside, like we're their test dummies over here on the East Coast. That's what it feels like. That's exactly what it feels like. And then out west, you guys get a lot more time to figure out what to do, what works and what doesn't work. And it's a 4 hours or 3 hours or whatever clock you want to look at, 3 or 4 hours. It's not a big difference, but it is a big difference in reference to people out west are much more progressive than people in the East. And there's a lot more reservation to do things. I mean, there's no pun intended with that, but there's a lot more tightedness. I don't know if that's the correct word. I don't know any other way to say it besides what I want to say, but I don't want to be crass, so I'm not going to say it. But the fact is that it's important to do the census. And it's actually not every year that you have to do the census. It's once every 10 years. The census is done every 10 years. So if you can't do something that's actually in the Constitution that you're supposed to do, it's actually written in the bylaws that you have to do it every 10 years as a citizen of the United States. It's something that's very simple. The problem that I have is that the questions that they're asking are questions that they already know the answers to. And then if you already answer the questions, and then they start to call you and text you and email you and everything else, and then you're going to send someone to my freaking door? Are you kidding me? I mean, seriously. Be happy I don't live on my own property that's 10 acres, because I would have dogs, alligators, piranha. Seriously. I mean, I would have a whole litany for you to pass through before you get to my door. If I already did what I'm supposed to do with my civic duty, which I did, and just like Rajee did, don't be bothering me and interrupting me and calling me or text messaging me time after time after time again. And actually, I'll pull up the stuff and I'll actually post it, because I'm almost on the edge of suing the United States government. And I would be more than happy to do that, because a lot of people can do that. You can sue your state. You can sue your governor. You can sue whoever you want to sue. And if the United States government does not know how to take care of something as simple as a census, but they can vote someone off an island on Survivor, or they can vote someone to be the biggest star on American Idol through phone calls. How can you not get it straight just to do something as simple as verify information that you already have? But I'm going to talk about something else right now, because I want to change the topic. And the interesting thing is that I had all these images and all these things that I was going to pull up, but we have so many things to talk about that are really important. So the next thing that I want to bring up is education, Mick and Rajee. Education is very important right now, and there's a lot of people who are trying to force people to go back to school. Not just children, also adults. And it doesn't just affect the people who are being taught, or I should say taught. It's also affecting the people who are the teachers, who are the bus drivers, who feed the people that are at school. We're talking about preschool, grade school, high school, and also college. I know personally a family member, I won't say who that person's name is, who is a principal of a Catholic school. And I know several teachers that are at different facilities all across the United States. and everyone is very concerned about how to go to school safely. That's the first step. The second step, or the second question I should say, is how is it going to be safe for the students to actually go and play football or soccer or volleyball? It's not safe. It's not safe at all. So I don't understand how there's any confusion with this. Everyone should be at home indefinitely, in my perspective. But the problem is that a lot of the funding that comes in is based off of standardized testing. Money comes in because the kids, believe it or not, even in grade school, they have to do this by this grade, this by that grade, this by this grade, and whatnot. And then the same thing with high school, and the same thing with colleges. There's all this money that filters in because of standardized testing. So my question for both of you is, what can we do? I have a suggestion. You got to scrap all of it. We have to come up with some new way of testing that's going to make things safe for people to stay at home. And no one knows what the answer is to this problem. We have to come up with something different. But I don't think it's safe. If I had a child, I would not let them go to school, ever, on the face of the planet. There's no way. What do either of you think about that?
I agree with you. I think that we do need to scrap everything. Because for one thing, I'm really worried about people going back to school because my sister's a teacher, my cousin is a teacher, I know other people who are teachers. And it's not just students that I'm worried about. I'm worried about the health of people who are literally within contact with children who, this is not a diss on children, but children are gross. Children will combine all of their lunch foods together onto a single lunch platter tray and dare each other to eat it. Those are the people that you want to send back to school. Kids who are going to take their mask off because wearing a mask is part of the rules. And what do kids do? They disobey people. Kids aren't going to listen to people just because you're saying that there is a pandemic going on. Because the thing is that kids probably between the ages of preschool up through even middle school don't know any better. And plus, if you have students in class whose parents are telling them, oh, this pandemic isn't real, or it's not that big of a deal, or it's not like something that you need to worry about, those kids are going back to school and potentially infecting other kids who are following the rules. So everything should be done remotely. It's been proven that we've been able to do it, and there's no reason why we can't. All of the funding that goes into schools right now, whether it's paying for air conditioning, running electricity and facilities in schools, all of that money can go towards paying these teachers who now have to be at home. What happens next are things like how are students who are maybe getting their meals through school, how are they going to get fed now? What is going to happen for parents who end up maybe having to go back to work because they work in the service industry, or things start opening up in the fall, and you don't want to send your kids to daycare because you can't send them there either because they're probably not open. What are parents going to do about that now? That also just plays into a larger issue at hand where it's like kids already spend too much time in schools because all of us as people spend way too much time at work. We spend 40 hours a week at work. That's way too much time. And I'm not saying that I don't know. It's the thing with education is that this plays into a much larger umbrella topic of just how we in the United States operate when it comes to certain things, because the reason that kids are in school for as many hours a day as they are is because the work day is so long, because parents can't be at home to watch their kids. So that's why you hear that teachers are often assumed to be caretakers and babysitters in addition to being educators. And so, yeah, I think like Joseph said, we need to scrap so many different things. I mean, we should also scrap standardized testing altogether, because not everyone tests well, for one thing. And secondly, the SAT was founded by someone who was following eugenics, because he thought that white people would perform better than people of color. So we're still using something that is the product of eugenics. That is something that we're still using. That is what standardized testing started out as. So it's like, get rid of it. It doesn't prove anything. I've known this for years. I remember back when friends of mine were applying to college saying, oh, like the college that I'm applying to actually did away with standardized testing because they found that there is no correlation between someone's intellectual aptitude or their diligence or their ability to work and standardized test scores. They found that that is like, there's no correlation between that, because what standardized testing measures is how well you take a test. And not everyone takes tests well, because not everyone works well under pressure. Also, the funny thing about testing is now is that you can't have your phone in there. You can only have your calculator. You have to do all this stuff in your head. When in the hell am I ever not going to have this Google at my fingertips? When is that going to be the case? When am I ever going to have to be like, oh, the Pythagorean theorem, like, I wish I knew what that was. If only there was something that could tell me what I need to know. Not 95, but like so many people have this, and it's becoming more and more widespread. Like, do away with testing. Do away with it. That's my opinion on testing. I could go on for much longer about education in and of itself, but I agree with Joseph that everything kind of needs to be scrapped. We should be doing everything remotely right now. But I want to hear what Rajee has to say.
Yeah, I totally agree with you when it comes to the whole testing thing. I've always felt that way. Because you're right, like, not everyone tests well. So it's like, you know, I just don't think it's a good gauge. You know, some people do that. I have a friend, as a matter of fact, that took a test, and I'm not going to, like, put all the information out there because I don't want to put him out, you know, put him on blast, but there was a particular test that he must have taken 20-something times and kept failing it. And, like, you know, he'd lose, like, you know, miss it by 2 points or 1 point or 3 points. And it was like, it was obvious that this person knew what they were doing, but they just didn't, they weren't someone that tests well under that pressure. They just didn't, they would freeze up. So I totally agree with that. In regards to school and kids going back to school, right now, this is not the time. This is not the time for kids to be going back to school. I get that parents would want their kids to have the brick and mortar experience, because there is something that kids get from socialization by interacting with each other in a school, like in a brick and mortar school. So I get that, but this is not the time because of what's going on with COVID. And so maybe one day we'll get back to that brick and mortar situation. Because I understand it. I understand that, you know, when kids are home and all they're doing is on the computer, are they really learning how to, like, socialize? You know, you see kids, they're all at the table on their phones, and they're not having conversations with their family. I mean, you know, so there's something to that. But, you know, I think the parents, there's so many different issues, like even what Mickey was saying about the food situation. You know how much more groceries parents have to buy now because their kids are home all day? You know, and because when you're home, you have a tendency to snack. And also, let's not even talk about, like, you know, the extra meal of having to have lunch for the kids. And you're talking about 5 days a week that you didn't have to worry about that because the kids were in school and they were getting school lunches. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But right now, because of COVID and the way it's spread and the way kids are, they don't need to be in school. They don't.
I agree with you completely, Rajee, and also Mick as well. What I want to do is welcome a good friend of mine who just happens to be the manager of a gas station that had been broken into twice within the last 30 days. Her name is Victoria.
Hi.
If she unmutes the microphone,
Hello.
she'll be able to.
How are you?
Unfortunately, I mean, she knows about everything that we're talking about. Number one, she has a child at home, and she is also a full-time parent and also a full-time worker. And she is also an essential worker. And she's been on WSVN, the local television station, talking about what happened with being broken into twice. And not to brag or nothing, but I fixed the first broken door at the gas station, and I did a really good job.
Yes,
But
you did.
all
Thank
joking
you.
aside, Victoria, you put your microphone back on mute by accident, I think. What do you have to say to people that are out there because of what's going on right now? Most importantly, as a manager of a gas station or a business, what do you think is the best thing that people can do to make their business more safe?
Well, I definitely learned a lot from it, actually, because the first time what I did was I made like a almost bulletproof glass. I mean, it took them forever to break it. But a suggestion that I actually got from the police officer, which I recommend that every business should do, is put a really loud like alarm. It's like a horn. So when they, with the bright light, so when they break the window automatically, even though ADT takes a while because they have to contact people, it will alert the police too because of that horn and the light exposing them. So a very bright light, like sensor, and a very loud horn. So that's our plan too, on top of the bars.
Okay, so my next question for you also additionally is, did you think that the police showed up and actually backed you up in a good fashion, or did you think that it was not what was necessary?
I mean, the first time we got broken into, they couldn't get in contact with us, and they literally just left our business there like wide open. They didn't even leave somebody even overnight to watch it. They literally just looked around, took fingerprints. They couldn't get in contact with anybody, which I understand we have some type of a fault for it, but still, you never know. Maybe something happened to the owner. You never know. So I think an officer or even a community patrol or safety should have stayed out there parked until somebody came in that morning. They wouldn't have been there that long.
I understand that. My next question for you is in reference to moving forward. Well, actually, I have two questions for you. From what I understand, when I saw the photos that were posted on television and also in the actual store itself, someone that lived locally was partially responsible for one of the break-ins out of the two. What do you have to share to tell people out there to maybe let their kids know that it's not cool to break into your local gas station?
Yeah, I mean, like seriously, like before those kids even broke in, like I knew them. They came into the store, they stole a bunch of snacks, they helped themselves in the store. I even tried to talk to them. I even told them I would have bought the snacks, but it's just to do it in even your own community, like, come on. Even the mom was shocked. She actually came to the store to let me know it was her son. She couldn't believe it in her own neighborhood.
So then in reference to that regard, what happened with that child, the one out of the three? We're still looking for two other people that broke into the store. So the one responsible parent took the kid to the police station. Am I correct or am I mistaken?
Well, that's all I really know. All I know is that the mom came to the gas station. She was crying, trying to apologize. But I also explained to her it wasn't just our store that they robbed a bunch of times. It was also like more. So there wasn't really much that I could even do to even help the situation. I know I was another parent that was going to take their child there, but the third parent even like got really upset. Like they were not going to take their kid in. So I don't really know like what happened at the end. I just know that even when speaking to the detective, they had 2 of them for sure.
So my question for you is, are they still looking for the other individuals? Is there a phone number or something that people who are watching the show tonight or possibly later can be able to figure out what to do to help you to try to find the other people who are responsible?
I mean, they can definitely go on the WSBN website. They can contact Crime Stoppers. They can even contact the, non-emergency line if they have any idea. The third one, he pretty much just ran off though. You could tell he was scared. But he's still part of it. I mean, he's still responsible. He still broke in. He was part of the kicking and throwing.
I understand that. So unfortunately, that's a horrible incident that happened to you twice. And hopefully it will not happen a third time. And I will do the best that I can to make certain that it doesn't. And so will all of our viewers and listeners, whether tonight or tomorrow or indefinitely, we will find the culprit or culprits and hold them responsible. So I want to thank you so much for calling in tonight, Vicky. I hope you have a good night. Make certain to give Sensei a kiss from me to him so that he has a good night. Beautiful that I know, and is a wonderful human being. And then I see this other absolutely drop-dead gorgeous girl in the bottom of my screen. I don't know what her name is. Is that maybe Carlitta?
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good.
We're good, honey. You look beautiful. Your hair looks like you just got it done. Who did it? Was it you?
Yeah, it's called getting out of the shower and not blowing it out straight. I've been wearing it curly quite a bit lately.
Well, it looks absolutely fabulous, first of all. I don't know if Rajee has a question or not. She looks a little bored. She's got her hand on her hip and her big old boobies are moving around. So I'm just curious, what do you have a question for? I'm sorry, I talk a little crass sometimes. Do you have any questions for Carlitta, Rajee?
Well, supposedly, isn't Carlitta sharing with us about house drinks tonight?
I am.
Okay, so I'd like to hear about that, and then maybe I'll have a question.
So what I'm going to be doing is at my new location called Carlitta's Java Bistro and Spa, I am going to be offering some beautiful juices and smoothies, shakes, different types of coffees, lattes, and different things. So one of my daughter and I sat around and we kind of came up with some names to be able to serve. And I just wanted to go through and mention a couple things, how all of us like to cleanse the body. And I came up with a couple really cute ones. Let me get to the one. So when it comes to like liver cleansers or different things like that, different alkaline cleansers, it's really important to use raw fruits and raw vegetables, like greeny vegetables. Remember, anything bitter is actually really good for you. The sweeter, it's not usually necessarily that good, but like pineapple is really good because it's the only fruit with bromelain. And you could come up with some different fruits for different cleansers of the body. Being one, a lung tonic, which is one of my favorites to offer people who smoke or who are so into doing different things with like hookahs or something like that. But like a lung tonic, for instance, we use 6 carrots, 4 sprigs of parsley, a 4th peeled potato, right? And then 4 sprigs of watercress. Now you could juice that, and then you could also use the roughage and make a stew with it. So whenever you're using something to juice, always keep the skins and use that for roughage for soups or stews or even a sauce. It blends beautifully for sauces or saute it in different dishes. Another really popular one is like blood sugar balancing. So I use 3 carrots, 2 lettuce leaves, a handful of string beans, 4 Brussels sprouts, and 2 apples. Now I don't use any ice, and I use no water in any of this. I like to use just like the really, really good organic vegetables. And you could always use the top of the carrots, regrow them, and then you instantly have a plant. If you have celery, then you would take the celery, cut the top off, and then you would use it in your garden and then instantly grow your own celery back. So never waste. Either use the remainings for a soup or a sauce, or you could use it for the next juices. I'll give you one more. Healthy bone. One for healthy bone tonic. 6 carrots, 4 kale leaves, 4 sprigs of parsley, and a half of an apple. How do you like those so far?
It sounds pretty good, to be honest.
I think it's
With
fabulous idea. When you had shared it with us a few shows back, I just loved it. Like, it's so. Oh.
What did you say?
I'm listening.
So just so you're aware.
Oh.
No. I didn't hear on my end what else she was trying to say.
Mm-hmm. No, I was just saying that I think it's like really a great idea to have the two combined. Like, you know, like, because people are going to be there at the spa, and then why not get a nice, you know, mixed drink, health shake or health drink. So let me ask you, out of all of the ones that you mentioned, which one is the most popular? And these concoctions, are they like medically proven? Like, you know, like the different recipes for each one, are they medically proven?
Nothing has been proven, or like I'd written this little thing about my new little Java Bistro. I wrote all of the information on the menu is by no means, intended to diagnose or to treat for individuals with health problems.
Yeah.
I said, and the information that I share with all of you is to increase the knowledge about fresh fruit and vegetable juicing. My information is not, like, I have to make sure that people are not thinking I'm a doctor, but what I had done is I've been very, very good with learning about which vegetables and which fruits help with the internal part of the body. When you're cleansing your body, you need to make sure you are drinking and flushing yourself with lots of cold, fresh water. And I'm not telling people to do it. I recommend people, I say what I would do for instance, also like a good liver mover, like a liver cleanser would be 3 carrots and a half of beet. So different body parts, you could look and you could do studies and reading on which vegetables.
I want to stop you for a second, Carlitta, sweetheart.
Yes.
I want to stop you for a second, Carlitta,
Yes.
only for the reason that almost every single thing that they talk about on television has a disclaimer, and many things that people have been So what I'm suggesting is the fact of reality is that the best thing that you can do is just be as much as possible. So I just want to reiterate that part. I know I might have cut out Rajee and Mick and Carlitta, but the fact of the matter is that there's things that we see on the television on a daily basis, and in the very bottom part of the screen, there's all these little teeny tiny words that they show, not medically proven. This is a supplement. This is this is that, whatnot. So Carlitta, back over to you. I just want to just reiterate the fact that you're not a doctor, but
Exactly.
by the same token, you are just giving people advice. You're giving people advice about how to eat, drink, and do something that's healthy. And the things that are on the mainstream media, which is not us, we're not that, we're something completely different, because we actually know the people in person that are the people who are advertisers that we are promoting, or the people who own businesses that we are promoting. So it's completely different. Carlitta, back over to you. I'm sorry. Just wanted to just like encapsulate that whole idea that's different from mainstream media. And a lot of people are used to seeing it. Just take this tablet. You're gonna be okay. It's something completely different than me and you and anyone else.
It is. And I sat down with 2 dietitians to try to come up with a little blend of what I could do. But I am letting everybody know, like before starting any type of program with our facility or coming in just for like a daily little dosage of love in a cup, that I let them know any type of diet or medical treatment that they have to consult their doctors, and the doctors tell us what to blend for them together. Now you rolled over and you grabbed your leg. What did you just do? Are you asking me
I was just crossing my leg.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying, like, you said love in a cup. I mean, I was just like crossing my leg over, which is frowned upon by most masculine men. Like the idea if you cross your leg. But luckily for me, and everyone who's watching the show, they really don't care about that. But Rajee, are you still there, or are you frozen in Max Headroom land?
I am here.
She might be frozen. Mickey? Oh.
Am I frozen?
You're a little frozen, but everyone can hear you. So keep talking, baby.
Oh. Okay. No, I just want to know, Carlitta, out of the drinks that you mentioned, what is the most popular one? Like, is there a popular one?
Yes. The most popular one, I think that I've noticed, is a lot of the people like to go out on the weekends, and they look for a liver detox come Monday morning, or they end up looking for something that could boost them a little bit more. So I love to make ginger, cayenne pepper, fresh ginger, fresh cayenne pepper, and squeezed fresh lemon with a little touch of turmeric in it. That seems to be the most popular, quick little shot that everybody loves to come in and drink. The other thing that I have is I use a sweetener of stevia, just a touch of it, with aloe juice. And then I put a little scoop of fat burner inside of it, a little bit of hot water, and you shake it. And then when you open it up, it tastes like a creamy glazed donut in a little miniature cup. They're beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah. The fat burners go really good. So do you have any questions? I mean, do you drink a little shake, or do you drink a smoothie at all, Rajee?
I don't, and that's why I'm like kind of interested in this, because lately I have been trying to be more conscientious about my diet and what I'm eating and everything. So I'm listening intently, because this is something I might want to start doing.
So
So I want to reiterate the fact that, number one, Rajee, you can come to, or I can drop them off because you're close enough. I can make a drink for you. Rick and I make turmeric, ginger, apple, spinach, all of what she's talking about. Rick and I drink them every single day. So if you need some, drop some off and I'll motorboat you. I should say, I'll just stop by and say hello. Oh, he's like, no. Said that.
And one more
It's
thing
just a
for
joke.
One more thing for a fast little where you could lose a few pounds. Everybody remembers two things when we were younger.
It's okay, Mick. No. I'm listening.
Is
What?
he asking?
No, I'm not asking a question, Joseph. I don't have anything to say. I don't know why you interrupted her.
No. I thought I heard something. I wasn't sure.
Okay.
If you're ever looking to like Pink, hi Mick, how are you? Look how cute he looks.
Thank you. I'm doing well.
Two things people remember is pink grapefruit and also the cabbage diet from years ago. And I take a leaf of green cabbage, 2 stalks of celery, half a tomato, and 3 carrots. That one's beautiful for like a little cabbage cocktail. That one's really nice too, and it's makes everything go smoothly through the body. Mick, what do you like to drink?
Honestly, I really just drink a lot of water at home. I do drink tea. So when you were bringing up ginger and your beverages, I actually have a ginger tea that I really enjoy. What I actually kind of wanted to ask you was, with your health and wellness blends, do you have any ones that are like adult drinks, like they've got a little something something in them, like I don't know, like a kick of tequila or something? And how do those work?
Actually, there's a couple people that bring in their own alcohol. Southern Comfort is a really nice, like an orangey taste. So they like to put the Southern Comfort shot inside of it, or they'll use Tito's inside of a couple other drinks. Me, myself, I don't have a liquor license yet, but they bring the alcohol in and they use it. Same thing like with the pink grapefruit, they'll use a nice vodka. This one gentleman drinks Grey Goose, and he brings a bottle of Grey Goose in with him, and he comes in every single day and he gets his juice. So we're enjoying making the beautiful, healthy little shakes for him and smoothies and juices. But then I also have the coffees, and, you know, they like to bring in, I have those small little miniature bottles that I offer the clients to go buy from right down the street because I can't sell them yet. But the Baileys or the Kahlua, or, you know, they could put that in their little coffee drink when they come in. I do have sitting area and inside and outside. It's really cute and quaint.
I mean, actually, what you just brought up is kind of ironic, Mick, because Rick made his drinks this morning. And he's like, I want to try it, but so it's actually kind of ironic that you brought that idea up to make it a little fun drink, but also healthy. Clearly, it's possible to be healthy and also have a little bit of fun. Rajee, what do you think about a healthy, fun drink?
Oh, like I said, I definitely am looking to like start being more health conscious with what I eat and drink. So yeah, I will certainly try it. I'm gonna try it, and then see how it makes me feel. I hear so much from people that do it on a regular basis how they really like feel that it's beneficial and it makes them feel better. So yeah, by all means, and I'm so happy you shared this with us because, like, listen to like the different ingredients. Carlitta, it's interesting how certain things, react with certain parts of the body. So, yeah.
The other thing too is I absolutely love, and I learned about pineapple so many years ago. If you're eating red meat, I always put pineapple on my list. Pineapple is the only fruit, like I said, with bromelain. So, and it's got to be the fresh, not canned, but you want to use a fresh pineapple whenever you're eating meat. And it completely changes the way it goes through your body. And it's a beautiful cleanser.
No, that's
okay.
I was gonna.
The Hawaiians do that a lot.
Yes.
The pineapple with the meat. Yeah, the Hawaiians do that. Yeah. I like.
And can
if I ever come up to if I ever come to your area, I definitely want to stop by your place because it just sounds fabulous.
Thank you. I can't wait. I hope to get to have all of you guys out soon one day. And I have to tell you, Rajee, your bangs are so big and huge this year. The bangs and your hair, that's like the number one. It's like everybody's bang, bang, bang. So I'm about to cut into mine again too.
Well,
And I didn't even realize it. Just organically I went in this direction, but yeah, so it's started. I'm Mr. Style then, right?
They look beautiful. They do. Your hair is
Thank
always
you.
gorgeous.
they absolutely look beautiful, Rajee, but by the same token, I think mixed bangs are totally banging too.
You know,
I think
Nick looks.
Mick has something to ask or say.
Oh no, I'm all good. I was just
Mick-
going to remark on the
Mickey?
I was just going to remark on the pineapple.
What's going on out
thing. Just
Yes.
because I know that since it's so acidic that it is good for that type of digestion. And kind of a fun fact, but I remember reading somewhere that actually when you eat pineapple, that kind of tart stinging that you feel on your tongue afterwards is actually the fact that it's kind of dissolving your tongue. Not to turn anyone off to pineapple, but that is something that does kind of happen just because it is so acidic. But that's good to know about eating it with meat, because I mean, if you ever had like pineapple on a burger, that is some fantastic food. So I'm gonna keep that in mind just with most future meats that I cook, because I also just don't cook a lot of meat.
It's actually interesting that you say it that way, Nick. Seriously. I've never heard about that situation, but I know that some people like pineapple on their pizza.
Yes, with chicken and with the sweet barbecue sauce.
Yes, girl after my own heart. I love pineapple on pizza.
Love that.
Oh my God, you all get me hungry.
See, it's so good. So do you,
Clearly, it is really good, but the part that I'm trying to figure out is clearly good in the correct format. Is that correct, Carlitta?
you cut out.
I know
You cut
you're
out.
I cut out, but
You cut out. which is
I
fine.
apparently I cut out. I just gave you enough time to primp your hair so that you look beautiful when we cut back to you. The show was almost done. Believe it or not, we didn't even do half of what we planned. We didn't do band camp. We didn't do the training report. We didn't do the COVID update. We didn't even read the names of all the people who had passed that I planned to. Tonight's show has been totally off the rails, unplanned, unexpected, unscripted. And believe it or not, 2 hours later, holy crap, what happened?
I'm going to give you and Rick a drink to try in your little pool party.
What
Are
is
you
that?
ready?
What does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
So
Am I supposed to write down?
I'm gonna.
You'll text messages
I'm naming this drink after you.
me later. Oh, good God.
It's 2 rings of pineapple, 1 medium orange without the peel, and a half a lemon with the rind. And that's going to be called Pool Party Cooler.
I love the idea of having a drink named after me, to be honest with you. Because I'm really super bored else at all on the face of the planet except myself, my partner, and his mom, and that's it. I'm afraid to even be in breathing distance of anybody. I'm in my little bubble. And Rajee knows. Like, seriously. She knows I'm like If she comes over, she's sitting in her car, and I got my face shield on, I got my face mask on, and I'm like, hey, how are you?
That's fun.
So what's the name of the drink? It's not funny. It's scary. What's the name of the drink?
I'm going to name this one called Pool Party Cooler.
Oh, pool party.
Cooler. Okay, I like that.
That's a really cool name. That's a really cool name, Carlitta.
Scrub your lemon really,
So-
really good.
Yeah. I'll rub my lemon. I'll rub it really good. I'll rub my lemon really good.
Carly, I'm gonna go out and get some now because of what you said. I'm gonna go out and get some
Well, the good thing is that
tomorrow.
the good thing is that the show is 18 or over, because that's where I have to hit that little button that says if people can watch it. If they're 18 or under, I say no. That's not an option.
Well, I'm excited, and I hope that everybody enjoys a little bit of taste, some little blends, and of course, I'll come back on and give some more little ideas and techniques, and I'm gonna play with a little bit more fruit and some more veggies this week. So hopefully next week we'll have some new little party names, and we'll get to try them soon in person.
That sounds great, Carlita. Seriously, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that you called in. And I also appreciate that Victoria called in as well. Mick, if you want to say anything, it's the end of the show. Obviously, Rajee, if you have anything to say also as well. Don't forget to give out your email address, because I don't have enough time to even pull anything out, because this show was just taken away from me. Hopefully next week, when Marty from Big Daddy Productions takes over, then we won't have these problems. And then Carlitta will be in studio as well. Mick, what do you got to say?
Oh, wait, were we, this is just something to say to our lovely viewers out there, but were we not taking next week off?
No, we're not taking next week off yet, but we will be figuring out what to do based off of what happens during the week next week. So Mick might not be here next week, or he might be here. He said no, he's not going to be here next week.
I probably won't be.
Well, no, it's not bad, because Mick and I had a conversation earlier this week about us taking a break, but by the same token, we have so many things going on, I never know what to do, to be honest with you. So it's not a bad thing to take a break, Mick, or Rajee, or Carlitta, but fortunately and unfortunately, by the same token, it's all good in the neighborhood. I do my little news reports as well now during the week, and everyone's perspective is very important. Number one, Mick, thank you so much. Take your little 1 week hiatus. And Rajee, what do you got to say?
Yeah, no, I just want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in again. And, what I was going to share with everyone, I'll save it for next week. I don't know, the show just, I don't know, it took on a life of its own. So, remind what it was the way it was supposed to be. So, I'll recap next week what I was going to share.
Okay, so first of all, the best thing about the show is that we have closed captioning. So if you could not hear what Rajee just said, it will be closed captioned at the bottom of the screen. And hopefully by next week, she and I will figure out a way for her message to get across to you, because the most important part is that Mick has his opinion and perspective and personality put out there as much as possible, as well as Rajee, as well as Carlitta, and also everyone that is part of the show. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about any of them. It's about all of us together working and trying to help each other out however the best that we can, safely working from home, trying to figure out what to do in a positive direction. And pretty much that's about it. Carlita, do you have anything else to say before I have to say the last word?
I just want to say thank you again for having me on, and I absolutely enjoyed. Love all of you guys. Keep smiling, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for watching. I cannot believe it. 2 hours went by so quickly with not even one advertisement and nothing that we planned to do on the schedule. I mean, like, I have the whole show planned out for 2 hours and nothing went like I planned at all. I'm so anal retentive, it's ridiculous. And but it's still a good show. It's just part of what happens with a live show. You never know what's going to happen. So thank you so much for watching. For all of you at home, please don't forget to tell people to like, subscribe, and share. You can visit us at www.mysouthernexposure.site. You can also pull up us on Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything. My Southern Exposure. We're also known as My Southern Exposure Media Group, LLC, officially, because I just did that a couple weeks ago. So now we're an actual company. So you, too, can advertise on our show if you want to. It's advertised at mysouthernexposure.site. Thank you so much for watching. We greatly appreciate everyone who is at home. Share, like, and subscribe. Thank you very much. Hey, are you still there?
Are we all still on?
A second, hold on.